what the seller transaction looks like, what the timeline looks like. So I'm going to go through the sellers first, then I'm going to go through the buyers. So basically, the seller transaction timeline. So what we're going to be looking at is the pre-listing, the listing appointment, preparing the home, marketing, showing and feedback, offer when you get the offer, and when you receive it and get it started. And that's when stuff really starts. But really, that's from 1 to 6. So you have a lot, the seller's transaction portion of the transaction is a lot of your time is spent before you even get the offer. So a lot of times the seller is making sometimes more money because a lot of the effort and time is going into the listing portion of the transaction. Then you get under contract and then you get into the pre-closing and closing day. So that goes pretty quick when you do that. Sometimes you can be on the market for on a buyer's side, you could be in a buyer's market, you may be on have a listing going for say 6 months, 7 months. It takes a little while to get that right person. If it's in a seller's market, it could be 30 seconds, like during COVID, so it could be very fast. So I'm going to go over this full process with you and what it looks like and what you need to do each time. So I am just going to open this up. This is our agent folder, and you can go to this um, from our agent portal. So you can go right from here, you go to the document library. And under here, you're going to see Agent Google folder. I had it hidden before, so I just made it open so you can see it quicker. So this is the agent folder. I'm going to go under the seller forms first. So these are just extra forms just to make sure you have availability to the forms. But I'm going to go over the seller agent task list. So I'm going to go over this and start it out. So this is the basic, you print this off when you get a seller just to make sure you're checking things off as you go through. And so this is the pre-listing. So first, you're going to schedule the listing appointment. So you're going to find out what time and day they're ready to go, get it set, and you're going to make sure you have all of this information with you before you go to see them. Okay, so it goes down to here. So you're going to be doing all of these steps. Okay, so first you're going to call them, get an appointment. Okay, we're ready to go. But before I go there, I'm going to research the property. You can do RPR or Cloud CMA, get to know how much the price is. It really stinks when you show up and you're talking to your seller and you're like, well, what do you think it is? Oh, 700,000, even though the CMA is going to show it maybe at 500,000. Some people think that their property is a lot better. So you want to prepare that CMA, bring it with you so you can say, well, what I'm seeing is that these properties are in this range. What do you think? Kind of get their feel for it. So before you meet with them, so you're going to review the market statistics. You're going to prepare the listing presentation. And if you click the link in this form here, it's actually going to take you to Canva, and this is your listing presentation. This is Cheryl McGann's, I guess. So every time you do one, you can save it to your Canva, and you can change all the documents. So you just want to save this to your documents. So this is her bio. This is going to tell them a little bit about the market, and it's just downloading the picture there. But you're going to go through what you're going to be doing and how you're going to be listing the property. And then it's going to go over how we're going to do a property landing page and show them kind of what that looks like. Here's a website to give them the example of it. But you're going to sh be sharing on social media, so you're not just going to be putting it on MLS. There's a lot of extra steps that we do as a brokerage to make sure that the properties get seen. And then you're going to go through your marketing strategy with them. You're going to talk about how you're going to present this to your social media, your MLS. You're going to do open houses, direct emails, savvy card writers. So we even promote that, or your virtual cards and virtual tours. So we're going to be pushing all of those things. You're going to be able to discuss this with them. So all this is preset. So all you have to do is bring this to your listing presentation. You're going to explain to them that we want to declutter it, depersonalize it. So removing photos because it's a little awkward seeing, the buyers like, I don't know if I see myself in here because there's so many pictures of them. So you want to depersonalize it. Make sure the house is clean. We do have a cleaner that'll do the cleanings before the listing. Make sure you do any repairs. I like to send out a inspector just to see if there's any major repairs, but there are some things that you really want to look at and you'll get familiar with them as you're going through. But it'd be like a double tap in the electrical panel. That's pretty common in Florida. And making sure that GFIs around water places like in the bathroom or the sinks in the kitchen. You want to look for specific repairs that pop up very common. But if you send an inspector, they're going to go out and just check everything. You can do a 4 point, making sure the 4 point is good to go so that it's going to pass for the insurance to be binded. So that's what I like to do is to send out an inspector, get those repairs, and then ask them if they want to send someone or we could send someone. And then any renovations. So oftentimes there's some renovations they want to do. We do have a contractor that will do a paid at closing renovation. So if they're just like, oh, I really need to do this bathroom before we list it, but I just don't have the money, so it's holding us back. Well, they'll do a paid at closing. So that is something that you can discuss with them as well. So when you're doing this pre-listing checklist with them, you can talk to them about that. You're going to talk about offers and negotiations, how it works. So the offers, how they're going to be presented, they're going to be negotiating for them, and you're going to explain all aspects of the contract before signing. So you're going to be working with them on it, and then you're going to manage the whole thing. So you're explaining to them the process that you do. Then you're going to put on the calendar when you're going to be doing the specific thing. So when you're going to be doing the open house, when you're going to be doing the private viewings, if you're going to do a broker's open, if you're going to be doing a caravan. So you want to put this out there. You want to put week one. Usually week one, we may do a broker's open, have other brokers and other agents come to the property and give their opinion on the price. And that way they're seeing all those other agencies, they're seeing your property and sharing it with their buyers. So I do like to do that in the first week. Then we do the open house. You may schedule 2 or 3 open house. So you can just write this right here for them. I just leave it blank so you guys can discuss it. You guys can really talk about what you're going to be doing. And then you're going to go through if you're going to do maybe an event there. Maybe you're going to have a huge open house where you invite everybody in the community. You're going to have hot dogs, hamburgers. You're going to invite your vendors. Things like that. Get people there, get people to do it. You can do it that way. You can also schedule a wine tasting there. There's many different ways just to get people to come view the property. And lastly, you're going to just have your contact information. So on your for sale sign, you can also ask for the Savvy Card writer, as you see right there, get property info, and they can text it and they get all the info from the Savvy Card. And instead of sending them to Zillow, you can have them go there. So that's a neat little trick. If you have questions about that, just let me know. But this is your listing presentation. So you just want to come in here, change your bio, and everything else is pretty standard. So but you want to make sure it's your face, your bio, of course. So that is the prepare your listing presentation. I would just have that ready so that you're ready to go when you go to talk to your clients. Then now we're down to verifying property ownership. I like to go to PropWire, just check the mortgage payoff, make sure that you have the right name for the contracts, make sure they're the owners that can sell it. Sometimes it may be the son or it might be under the wife's name and she's out of town. So you want to check all that information on PropWire, get the mortgage payoff, find out if there's HOA or CDD, a condominium, and get the details on that as well. Prepare a net sheet. You can go to close title and they can prepare a net sheet showing what the seller um costs are going to be at closing. So you can go to PropWire, find out what the payoff is, go to Close Title's website and do a cost estimate. And that really is good when you come into doing the listing appointment. So now you're there at that day. So you're going to tour the property. So you're going to be at the listing appointment. You're going to tour the property, discuss any decluttering, cleaning, how you want to send an inspector, get some ideas going on that. You're going to discuss the pricing strategy. You're going to go over the CMA that you pulled already. Um, Make sure that it's in the right price range. You're going to explain the marketing plan, which is in your listing presentation. Review the timeline and expectations. So you're going to review this is what our plan is. Like we just said, we went over the open house, the broker's open, and that you're going to have, it may take a little bit of time. We can come down on price a little bit and kind of get their expectations ready for a buyer's market that we're in right now. But when we're in the seller's market, get them to know that as well. Explain the commissions and fees. So this is your first negotiation. So this is your first chance to show them that you're a good negotiator. So you're going to explain to them that this is, and you can show them the timeline that what we're expecting to do. My commission is 3%. Most of that goes to the advertising. We're getting it out there for 6 months. I'm showing it constantly. And then we do the negotiation. So we're going to be negotiating with the seller, and I'm going to be preparing all the documents and getting everything ready. So you want to be negotiating this process. And we do have another class on this, just kind of going over this, how you want to negotiate your listing commission. But I normally never go below 3 unless they want to do most of the work themselves. If they want to do the negotiations and all I'm doing is advertising it for them, I may come down a little. But if I'm doing everything, I'm usually at 3% is my, and everything's negotiable, but that's usually my fee that I charge. Now you also want to represent the buyer's commission because they're going to ask. And usually my take on that is that you're going to explain to them that the buyer is going to be asking for a commission as well. Right now, it is the responsibility of the buyer to pay the buyer agent. It's not the seller's responsibility. However, if the buyer's not paying for it, they can't afford it, would they be willing to cover some of the fees? So if they're willing to cover 3% just to get the property sold, that's great, but you're going to tell them you're going to be negotiating with the buyer to see if you can, how much the buyer's going to pay, and then you could just fill in the gap, but they could go up to 3%. So right now it's kind of a wild west as we're kind of getting this locked in, but see if the seller's still able to pay some of the seller's fee, because otherwise the buyer's fee, because otherwise the buyer agents are not going to work for free and they're going to try to find a property that will provide commission and explain that to your seller. It's just the way it's working right now. So then you're going to discuss the showing procedure. Do they want to have a lockbox? Is it okay to show at any time? If they're living there, do they need to have 24-hour notice? How often can we show? So find that out. Get that down on the seller questionnaire. So I'm going to show you the seller questionnaire here as well. This is in the Google Drive. So I like to print this off, just bring it with me. I'm filling out most of this stuff, how they'd like to best communicate, 'cause it is a huge thing. Sometimes we are communicating incorrectly and it doesn't go as smooth. Write down everything about the property, space, rooms, garage, pool, HOA. If there's an HOA, you want to get the HOA name and the monthly fee and any restrictions like leasing, pets, etc. If there is anything that is required by they may have to hold it for a year before they can lease. Things like that. So you want to make sure you get all that information and ask them for the documents because you're going to have to provide that to the buyer at during the listing. So you might as well get all that information. Ownership, how long they've lived there, if it's vacant or tenant occupied. If it's tenant occupied, when is the lease end? Because that's really important for an investor. So you want to make sure you know when the lease is ending. If the lease is going for, say, 6 months and you have somebody who wants to buy it, it's okay. You can ask the tenant to do cash for keys. Maybe you give them, say, 3,000 at closing to pay for them to move to the next property. It's not always guaranteed, but that is an option, just so you know. Mortgage information. Find out when the mortgage, how much is due, what the approximate balance is and the payments. So you have that for your presentation for them for the net price presentation. And do they have any other loans? Sometimes we forget to ask this, but sometimes there's a HELOC or a solar loan, and that'll affect how much they're selling it for. Selling goals. What is their goal? Are they looking to downsize? Are they looking to go visit their grandkids and they want to live closer? What is their reason? A divorce, that could be a huge one because that means it needs to go through probate. And if they check divorce, make sure that you know if they're in the middle of a divorce or if it has been closed because that makes a big difference on if they can sell and who needs to sign. And if you're on the buyer side, they need to have a seller decree. I mean, a divorce decree. You need to have all of that stuff present. So that's a big one. If you stumble on that, just we can work that through together. But where are they moving to? If it's in another state, maybe you can refer them and make 30% off that deal. We have referral agents in other states that I can recommend to you. When would they like to move? Is that the most important thing? Because then you'll know is maybe it's not price, but maybe it's the timeline that's most important. Do you need to sell before you purchase another home? So that's are they planning that? So yes or no. An ideal closing date and finding out when they'd like to close. Of course, with this buyer's market, we'll see how that goes. Have they made any updates? That's a big one too. Sometimes we forget to ask this and we don't represent it well. We're just like, oh, this is a beautiful home. Okay, let's list it. Well, let's take down everything. They may have a sheet of paper of all the upgrades that they've had. They may have a lot of if they had a roofing contractor come in, make sure that you have all that documentation and you can put that on MLS before you even list it. That or when you list it. That way the buyer's agents see it right off the bat. They don't have to ask you and ask and ask. So ask them for those things. Any updates? The biggest thing is the age of the roof, the HVAC, and the hot water heater. Find out those items. If they don't know, they usually have a tag on the HVAC or the heater. Find out when they are because that's a common question from the buyer side. Any issues that they know of, especially any open permits, because you want to make sure that you can get things closed. One thing is if they had an insurance claim or say a sinkhole claim. That's a big one. And they need to tell you this stuff because it does make it very, very difficult if they don't. If they do have an open permit such as that, it's something we can work through, but we need to know it ahead of time. What's included is everything staying. We've had it before where we start the listing and we just assume that the washer and dryer are staying until the end of closing. You're like, oh, no, they wanted to take that with them. So you need to make sure you know what is staying, what's going with you, what's going with it. Price. Have you received the market analysis? So you want to make sure that it's current, make sure everything's good. So you want to say, okay, what do you believe the home is worth? But then also go over the CMA with them. And is there a minimum amount that they want to sell it for? So how low can they go? They may want to sell it for 600,000, but if they need to get things going, maybe they're willing to go at 500. Let's just know your bottom line so that you can represent them the best. Then you're going to ask them again what their showing times are, if they need 24 hours notice to clean the house, if they're living in it, if they only want to show when they're there or when they're not there. So find out as much as you can if there's pets. Marketing, what do you love most about the home? I like this because you're making it more personable. And then once you know this home, it'll really help you make your listing description and also just to get to know it so you can sell it better. So imagine this is your home. So what do you love about this home? What attracted you to the neighborhood? Favorite nearby restaurant, parks, schools? Get some information and write this down because this will also help because we make a website for each listing that we do. We can highlight these places and anything unique. And then all of this could be very similar when you're working with an investment property as well. What's attractive about this neighborhood? They know because they bought it there to flip it. So what is good about this property? Next one is the photo package. So you want to discuss this with them. Usually just professional photos around $200. We work with a few different photographers, but that's pretty average. If they want to do a video walkthrough, a drone, and a floor plan, that's an extra 150. And then if they want to do the marketing video for surrounding areas, so it's a marketing video of like showing the property, going through it, showing everything around it, droning it, talking about some of the places around, like some of the restaurants and things like that. We can make a video like that for them, and that's an extra 50. Documents. So provide documents as much as you can get. Sometimes the seller has a survey, so ask them ahead of time because the title company is going to ask if they have a survey done, and it'll save the seller. It could be up to, a few $100s. So if they already have a survey and it's within 10 years, we can still use it. See if they have floor plans, HOA documents, utility bills that we can show, any warranties on any of the appliances, roof documents, like we were saying, HVAC, receipts for any improvements. Is there anything that they have done that we can show that it's really done? If they have an elevation certificate, because maybe they're in a flood zone, but if you have an elevation certificate, your house is a little bit higher than where it's sitting, you may not have to pay as high flood insurance. If they have insurance information, that's good because you could show to the buyer how much the average insurance would be and any previous inspection. So those are really good things to ask, and a lot of agents forget to ask this. Closing information, if they want to have a specific title company, just make sure you write that down. We use closed title a lot, so I just put that there so that you can write closed title if they don't have one. They are everywhere. They're here. They have an office on Dale Mabry, but also they can sign remote anywhere. Do all owners need to sign? You want to find out if the buyer or the husband and wife have to sign. If there's a co-signer, who needs to sign? Make sure you have all that information. And is anybody out of state so we can send the remote closing and if they want remote closing. Anything else you can think of, you just want to write that down um, so that you have that. And then agent notes. So later you're going to write this down. The comparable sales, the recommended listing price, expected net that they want to have in their pocket after the closing, minus all their fees, listing date, photography schedule, and MLS live date. So when are you planning to go live? So those are our big ones for you. So I'm going to go back to here. So that's a seller questionnaire. So that's a link that'll take you right to it. Then we have answer seller questions. So you just want to answer anything that they specifically have questions on. What do they have questions on? We're here to answer that for them. Collect signed documents. So now we're getting into the signed documents. And we are going to get these basic ones signed. First, you want to have the listing agreement. Usually I do a single with the ability to transition to transaction brokerage. That way, if you have the buyer, if you find a buyer, you don't have to sign another agreement. So it's a single and with the ability to transfer. Seller property disclosures, just have that right off the bat, get them to sign it because you can upload that onto MLS. And instead of every buyer agent asking for the seller disclosures and lead paint disclosures and the flood disclosure, even though it's misspelled there, I see, and all the other disclosures that you need, if you get them signed right off the bat at the listing agreement, at the listing presentation, then you're set to go. You have to put it on MLS. You'll put it on MLS where the little paperclip is, and every buyer's agent will be able to see it. They're not going to ask you for it. You'll still have agents ask for it because they don't know where to find it, but those are those agents. Okay. So preparing the home. So you recommend repairs. So you're going to talk to them about this and you're going to recommend some repairs, decluttering, deep cleaning. Like I was saying, you have a cleaner. You have a few cleaners that you can reach out to get the deep cleaning. If they want the home staged, we can work on that. We can get a professional home stager, or we can look at maybe furnishing it to do rentals while it's being listed. They can make some money. So that's another option that you have. Landscaping, make sure that they're keeping up on that landscaping because nothing's worse than the grass too high. It really makes the property look bad. See if they'll t do some pressure washing because that really cleans up the property. Let them know professional photography, drone, video, get everything going. Right here on the floor plan, I wrote Kubicasa, and and you'll have this document so you can access it anytime. This is the login and password to Kubicasa, and this will give you the floor plan. You do have to look at how it works, or you can have one of us do it. But you go in the house and you just walk around the house and it'll make a floor plan. It looks really nice. Or you can Matterport as well. Marketing. So you want to enter a listing into MLS. We do that here. We charge a fee, but we can help you. Our team can put it on to MLS for you. You're going to install a sign. If you want us to install it, we do have a company that goes out, installs the sign and the sign holder, everything. It's $50 at closing. So we can do that if you'd like to do that. We can install lockbox, or you install lockbox. I usually go to either you can go to GTAR or Star. You can get their boxes there. You just pick it up and there's no fee, and then you just have to return it after your listing. Those are the Supra boxes, but there's a lot of people that don't use Supra, or maybe they're not their off-market deals or stuff like that. So you're knocking off all the people that don't use Supra. So $11 a lockbox. I usually go to Amazon and buy a 4-pack, and I just use a traditional lockbox. Verify showing instructions if there's anything we need to do different for this home. Create the brokerage website. So we create the brokerage website for you. Just give us the details, and then we'll create it for you. We do social media marketing on it. You'll do social media marketing on it. We email all of our buyers and all of we have over 200 agents that we work with consistently. They know we close. We send it to them because they know we're going to close. They know what they're going to get by working with us. So we do like to send it to them. In the first little while, in the first, say, 2 weeks, we're going to do reverse prospect, or you do reverse prospect. And with that, you're going to find out all of the agents that have this was on their list. So they've sent out the buyer's agents have sent out auto emails to agents, and you're going to see all of those buyer agents that have sent it out to their clients. So you're going to send an email to all of those buyer agents, say, "Hey, I just want to let you know we just listed this and you have a buyer that might be interested. Please let us know if we can schedule an appointment." So you do that once. Then if you need to drop the price, you have that same list, maybe a few more, you add the few more in there, and you send it out again and say, "Hey, just to let you know that you have a buyer interested and we are just reducing the price." So that is a great technique to do on a buyer's market because you're really doing and getting it out there to the buyer agents. Some buyer agents, they have a buyer, they forgot they even had a buyer and they just had it on auto email forever. Well, here you go. You can send it to them and then they can come out and look at the property. So you can do just listed postcards. Those are good for the area. If you want to go hit up the neighbors, because a great option to possibly get another listing. Say, "Hey, I'm listing a property over here. Have you thought about listing your home?" When you pass out the cards. Schedule the open house and the broker open. So then you're going to do the showings, confirm the showing. Um, you're going to provide showing feedback. So you're going to ask everybody for the feedback and review the market. And I would probably contact them about once a week just to make sure that everything's looking good. If they're getting a little desperate, let's lower the price. Come up with different strategies. I know every time I call them every week or so, get a new idea, it motivates me. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I could do this." And I think of something else to get things going. Okay, so now you have an offer. Okay, we're moving forward. So you have an offer. And now we're on like part 6 or 7. So we're here now where we've done all this and from all of this. So now we're receiving an offer on number 6. So this could take 1 to 3 days, like it says. You review the offer, you review their financing because you're the seller. So you're going to see what what their pre-approval is, if they have any contingencies, closing costs, escrow deposits, proposed closing date, appraisal gap, if there's anything in there. And then you negotiate the terms with them. So maybe they want to close earlier. They don't want to have an inspection period for 15 days, maybe 7 days. You want to take a look at that. And here I've highlighted down here, this is something that I have saved so that I can easily use it. So I can even text someone, and I'm going to go here and I'm going to text. And I'm just going to press sales one. I think it's sale one, right? And it hits all of this for me. And why I do this is because say I get an offer, and this is really important during COVID. Say I get an offer, I'm going to go here and just send all of these details to the seller. So I'm going to put what the price was, how much the EMD was, the inspection period, 7 days, the closing date. Is it assignable? No, it's not assignable, so that's good. Financing, say it's conventional, any additional terms. So I just make sure that I remember I send all this information to the seller and then send them the contract so they know quickly what they're looking at. So I do have that saved in my automatic text just so that you have that ready to go. Okay, so now we get it executed. You can go ahead and start list to close. And with list to close, You can set this up so that all you have to do is go to submit a contract without a login. That's fine. You don't need a login. And you fill this out from the executed contract. When you do that, at that point, you're set and you're ready to go for um, to have your so now you have a transaction coordinator behind you. So they're going to do everything in front of this. So you don't have to do it now. Or if you don't want to do list to close, you just have to follow these steps ahead. So you're gonna deliver the executed contract to all parties with timelines and an email, and it goes to all parties. The buyer, the buyer's agent, the title company, the finance company, the seller, and you have to send them different emails. Then, after that, you're going to verify the earnest money has been received the next 1 to 3 days, however long that you have on there. So you're going to keep bugging them until you get it and you get a receipt. So you got that. So then you're going to confirm the financing, confirm lending, track the loan milestones constantly throughout the next 30 days. And these are stuff that your transaction coordinator does, but if you want to do this yourself as well, you're gonna monitor the financing contingencies, like if it's based on the appraisal or the inspection, you're gonna follow up with the lender weekly. You're gonna keep going and finding how is it going? How's it going? Is appraisal ordered? And that's something that Leah will do with the transaction coordinator. Inspections, you connect with buyer for the inspection date. So you know when the inspection is. They're going to say, okay, it's Friday at noon. Okay, great. So it's great if you can go there. I like to go with the inspector so that we see what they're doing because also right now, buyers, it's on the buyer side on the market right now. I like to go to make sure that I'm understand what's going on and also talk to the inspector because sometimes they'll be more on the buyer side. But if you're there, it might be more swinging back in the middle. We're all human. Review the inspection report and negotiate repairs. They may just, nowadays, the inspectors send out a repairs list and they're not really, it's not even the buyer requesting it. They're just sending out a repair list. And it could be, oh, the garage door has a dent and there's a little, a mark on the wall. And then also it has a 4 point, those are in the red. So you want to negotiate their pairs and say, I understand that the red ones you need to have for the 4 point. The other ones, it's being sold as is. If the red ones are in there and your 4 point isn't able, it doesn't pass 4 point, your 4 points of the house, the roof, the HVAC, the hot water heater, the plumbing, and electrical. If those something in there is red, then it's something you should be prepared to negotiate with the seller because they're not going to be able to get insurance, which means they cannot get financing, and then they can back out. And if that's the case, it's most likely going to be all of the buyers in the future, they're all going to have the same problem. They can't get financing without the 4 point being cleared. So you negotiate those and you negotiate and execute the repair agreement with them. Verify the repairs are completed. So work with the seller, make sure that's done. If it is an HOA, order the HOA estoppel, provide HOA documents, verify transaction fees, make sure all that's taken care of. With title, you're just going to track title, be on them, how's everything going, resolve any title issues. They do that, but you want to make sure everything's going good. Ask if they need to order a survey or your seller may have one. Make sure that one is ready. And then you're gonna bug the back to the financing. You're gonna keep bugging them about the appraisal. Is the appraisal ready? Is the appraisal ordered? Can we order the appraisal? Let's get it going. So that's something that the seller agent's constantly on. So now they've ordered the appraisal. You provide the appraiser with comparable properties. So you provide them with a list and also maybe even letter. You can make a letter for them just saying, hey, if you have any questions, contact me. These are the comparable properties we found. And that helps them so they don't have to look up so much, but also it makes their job easier and it makes sure that they find the properties that you found and why the properties have value to what you're needing. And also maybe because we work with investors, you may want to ask for the gross rent multiplier appraisal. So you may ask them for specific appraisal, and they may not do that unless you ask. So you want to do that. And I like to meet the appraiser if any way possible. I always like to meet the appraiser so that we can talk to them and just get to know them and make sure they know that we're not going to fight them because we may need to negotiate the appraisal later. We may need to go back and say, gosh, it was 400 is the agreement. and it looks like you got it at 380. What was it? You didn't use these properties? Is there any way we can talk about it and see why you didn't use it? You don't want to mess with the appraisal because it affects everybody around you. Because if you're going to, that's what affected the bubble back in '08. If you're going to work with the appraiser and nudge them up on price, then all the other appraised value homes around there are going to be based off your price. So you don't want to suggest that they move it for you, but you definitely want to see if they've used all the right properties in the CMA. So now you're ready to go. You're pre-closing. So you want to confirm the loan is approved and that you're clear to close. And you're going to confirm the closing disclosures that were issued, make sure everything was sent out, schedule the closing with them, coordinate the utilities. And one thing that's not on here, yeah, I guess it's confirming the loan approval, but you're going to get a HUD and you're going to look over it. Make sure on your side too, the buyer gets it 3 days prior to closing, which they should send it to the seller as well. Just look over everything, make sure everything is in line for the on the HUD. So you're going to schedule the closing. Your transaction coordinator actually has a program now where they can coordinate the utilities, or you do it. Confirm the seller move out date. Verify agreed repairs to be completed. Make sure that they were completed. Make sure that's not going to delay anything. Confirm the final walkthrough. Collect garage, remotes, the keys, all the things that you need to move forward. Any appliance manuals, make sure that's there for the buyer. Have it set out on the counter and provide any warranties. So now it's the closing day. Finally, you're here. It's the closing day. The seller signs the closing documents. Usually I'm there with them. If I can at all, I will be there with them. If not, I like to be on the phone with them, if they're away or traveling. You confirm the funding. Make sure everything has been done. They've sent the funds in. Everything's good to close. You confirm that it's recorded. Then you release the keys to the buyer. You can leave them in the lockbox for them to receive, and then you just go back and remove the lockbox later. You deliver the possession. You remove the yard sign. Update MLS to close. So you want to make sure you do that, otherwise MLS is going to hit you with a fee. And notify the seller of completed sale. I usually send them like a congratulations, it's finally over. And then I like to thank the seller and give them a gift. So I've known the seller for a while. We've had a lot of when I'm there at the seller listing presentation, I'm looking around, I'm getting to know them a little better, come up with a good gift for them. Then ask for the reviews. Say, and if you know anybody that would like to sell, make sure you remember me. I'd love to help them. And then put them in high level, put them in your CMA and have it automated so that something goes out every 30 days. Just I like to do like newsletters, just hey, remember this is the fall, make sure you clean your windows. It's something like that, staying in front of them, but also set up automatic emails, say, hey, just want to make sure everything's going good and don't forget us if you have anybody you'd like to refer. And if it's an investor, you're going to set up other automated emails saying, hey, just want to let you know we're here if you're looking for your next property, because they're going to be doing every 7 per year instead of every 7 years. And then set up an annual home evaluation, going there and just following up and add to your newsletters. So on the bottom here, we have important deadline trackers. These are the ones that have deadlines. So these are the ones that you really need to pay attention to. So this is in the task list too. So you just highlight it. Inspection period, 7 days, maybe the financing contingency 30 days. Make sure you have that on your calendar. The appraisal deadline, the HOA deadline, everything's on there. Your transaction coordinator will send that out, but if you're doing it yourself, you do it this way. Okay, so that's the seller side, and I'm gonna just hit the buyer side's a little bit quicker, because that's more on the listing gets a little bit crazy. So on the buyer side, this is also on the buyer folder. This is a buyer's agent timeline. So this goes through what you're going to be doing. And I know Peter, you have a buyer you're working with, so this is really important. This is a timeline. This is in the Google Drive, so you can pull it open. So I'm going to go through this one right now. And this one is the checklist. So we're going to go through this. So you probably already done the buyer consultation with your sister. and or with anybody, so I'm just using Peter as an example. So you explain the transaction, you review the her goals and the timeline, and you also have a questionnaire, so that's in the buyer's folder as well. Discuss the financing options. Make sure that they have a pre-approval and get a copy of it or send them to your mortgage company. Explain current market conditions. Just let them know that it's a buyer's market right now, which is awesome for them. But that it could take them a little while because sellers still think it's a lot higher than it can get appraised for. So just set their expectations on that. Then you're going to set up the MLS auto search. And this is a big one. So you just set it up, make sure you have everything that they are interested in and buying, and you turn that into the MLS auto search. So it sends out to them any new property that f falls into their criteria will get sent to them. Review the buyer presentation agreement. Make sure that everything is good between you and the buyer and get that signed. And it says if applicable, but we have to get that signed nowadays. So just making sure that everything's good. Discuss the earnest money, review the closing cost so that you know that they have the money to close. Okay, so now we're doing the home search, and this should not say applicable, so I'll make sure that's removed, that we just had this in there before. So there is no if applicable, you have to have it signed if you're going to show the home. So and please, if anybody has any questions, just let me know. And okay, so now we're going to go into schedule the property showings. So we're going to set up, okay, we're going to go on a Saturday and we're going to show all the properties. Here's what I like to do. I think I have this set up. Let's see. Let's do, let's say here, I just set up, this is probably one that I did. So we have the properties, we save them. So you can add places, you just press save and it goes to it. Um, but like you see here, these are all the yellow ones. So maybe you want to see all the yellow properties. I set it up in Google Drive in the Google Maps so I can see where I'm going to go first. I may go to this one and then go over to Cheval, then down to Citrus Park, then down to South Tampa. And so I'm mapping out a way to go see them. And that's really important. I like to touch on that because otherwise you're going all over the place all the time. I usually set up those appointments to be about 45 minutes. Hopefully it's a half hour, but that gives you a little bit of time to go through things. If you're running late, just contact the buyer's a or the seller's agent. Usually it's not a problem at all. So you preview the homes, and then you discuss comparable sales. So you're going to go through a CMA, make sure, and that's where, Peter, that's where you are. You're discussing the comparable homes, make sure that that's what you want to offer. You're going to review the disclosures that are on MLS on the paperclip. And you're going to evaluate the HOA, CDD information, make sure it fits what they need. The flood zone, make sure it works. Discuss the resale value, make sure that, it's a good option for them, especially for an investor. And narrow down the preferred property. So now we're going and we're going to go ahead and we're going to put an offer in. So we're going to prepare the purchase contract. We're going to get that going. Review the contract with the buyer. Get everything set up there. Make sure the price, everything looks good. Any contingencies, if you want the appraisal contingency, financing contingency, anything in there, make sure that's in there. Verify that you're going to be doing conventional, FHA, VA. It's really important on the agreement. So making sure that you have that type in there. Determine the earnest money amount, usually say 5 to 10%, or usually that's pretty average if that's what, say it's 400,000. I usually put 4,000 in the earnest money. Include the request for personal property. So if they want the boat to go with it, or if they want the pantry to have what's not all the well, they may want the food, but they may want the fixtures, they may want a couch, some of the furnishings, you can ask for that as well. You're going to include requests for personal property. Okay, prepare buyer's letters. So here's a link. You can tap on this and it'll open up just a generic one. This is one we just wrote, so we just changed it. So why they like the property, why they want to buy it, and we usually include that with the offer as well. So you have a copy of that, so you just change it to what you want. So there's a link to that. You're going to obtain the buyer's signature on everything there, and you're going to submit the offer, the buyer letter, the pre-approval, and any addendums to the listing agent in an email. And you're going to email it to them in a PDF. I don't like doing it through Dotloop or any of the other signing things. Send it to them in a professional email. And in the email, write who you are. Hi, I'm Nadia Daggett. I work with investing in Florida. I have been working in real estate for a long time. If you're a new agent, my broker is going to be working with me on this transaction. If you have any questions or concerns, our biggest responsibility at our brokerage is to make sure that we get the closing for our buyer. We want to make sure it's closed smoothly and efficiently. So sometimes they even state, we're not going to be harassing you on any minor repairs on the property. We want to make sure this is smooth and easy to go because you're explaining to the selling agent who you are. You're interviewing with them because it's going to be a long 30 days if you guys don't get along. So you send that in an email, you confirm the receipt, make sure they got it. You can go ahead and again submit to list to close, and that's the link to submit this on the buyer side. And then you're going to deliver the executed contract to the lender. You're going to send it to the title company, the transaction coordinator if you have them, and of course you already did to the seller. And the buyer. So you want to make sure the seller's agent and the buyer. So you want to make sure everybody has executed contract. You send an email to everybody with the timeline. You confirm the escrow has been opened with your buyer. You verify earnest money is deposited and give the receipt to everybody that's asking for it. You'll have everybody asking for it. Sing the congratulation email. Let them know, yay, we are in execution. We're ready to go. So then you create the transaction timeline and you send that out to everybody. Make sure that everybody knows the contingency deadlines, everything's set up, and then order the home warranty if possible. I like to, as a buyer's agent, I like to get a home warranty for my buyer for all the appliances because it just stinks. The first year, all of a sudden, your dishwasher goes out, your AC goes out. And if you didn't get the warranty, that's all out of pocket. But you can get warranties from MLS really cheap right now. We have vendors that we work with that are, maybe $200-300 sometimes on special. So I like to do that for the buyers for sure. Schedule home inspection. Make sure that the inspection is scheduled and you have hired them to go through it. Schedule specific ones if needed. You may need to do a well or a septic. That's an extra cost. A mold's extra. The pool, termite. Those are all extra. The HVAC, plumbing, and electrical, that's the 4-point, and the roof, that's a 4-point. And then you have the regular inspections. So there's a lot of inspections if you want to inspect everything. Traditional home inspection, they're going to go through the house, make sure that the plumbing, HVAC, electrical, and things are good, but the other ones are extra. I like to attend if possible, review the report, prepare the requests, the repairs or replacement. And I'm going to show you what that looks like real quick. So it looks like this. This is just, okay, this is what we want to repair. This is the property address. And under general repairs, we're going to put, we're asking the seller to, repair the roof. So there could be some major ones. Or we're asking the seller to repair the flooring. There's some damage on it. So we put those in there, the wood destroying organisms. So if they need to have the termite treatment going or permit inspection items. So we need to get some things in there. So those are the major repair requests. I have that there so you can link to it real quick if you need to. And we can always discuss. Me and you can go through, make sure everything looks good and negotiate the repairs. Because the worst thing is we don't want to go in there and be like, well, there was a chip on this, on the door frame. And there's little things that you're buying as is. We'll go through it and make sure that you're getting what you need. Then you negotiate the repairs or credits. So maybe they don't want to repair it, but they'll give you a $5,000 credit to repair the floors or whatever. You can negotiate that. And then when you get credits, make sure that you work with the lender that they will accept it because they may not allow a $6,000 credit for the floors. Certain things you just want to make sure per their lending that you can write that in there. And then you obtain the signed repair agreement and you move forward. You keep on them though. You keep on, make sure things are getting done. Now on phase six, you're going to be working on the financing. So the inspection went through. Now we're going through the financing. You confirm the loan application was submitted. And you're kind of bugging this about from the very beginning. Verify the appraisal was ordered. Usually that's right after the inspection. Follow up with the lender weekly. Confirm the appraisal was completed. Review the appraisal. You may have to go and bug them and resolve some appraisal issues and confirm clear to close with financing. So that's at the end. You're going to confirm that we're clear to close. When are we clear to close? Well, we still have a permit open. Okay, let's get that permit closed. Are we clear to close now? Yes, the permit is closed. Everything's going so that you're constantly on the financing to make sure that's who you need to bug to get the clear to close. The title company is also working in the background, and you're going to be working with them to confirm that they did the title search. So you can start that from the beginning. Make sure that and this is all working in conjunction. So once you get the inspection done, you're going to be working with the financing, the title, HOA, and insurance. Those are the three you're going to be working on. So with the title, you're going to be making sure the title commitment, any issues were resolved. There may be an outstanding tax or this or that. You need to make sure it's resolved at closing or before closing. If the survey was required, make sure that you find that out in the beginning and make sure that they order the appraisal in the beginning because you don't want that to delay. There's been a few times where the title company will ask at the very end, and now they need another 5 days to get the survey and it'll delay closing. So if you're looking for the timeline, this is what you want to look for. Then you review the HOA documents, and make sure everything's good there, and you verify the association requirements and you confirm the utilities. So then, well, it keeps highlighting stuff. There we go. You're going to go through the insurance and utilities. Make sure that the homeowner, this is something you should be working on at least, I would say 10 days before closing. Make sure the insurance is good. You've gotten quotes, you've gotten everything ready to go, and that the inspection qualifies, the insurance, they can get binded, everything looks good. And then you're going to schedule the utilities. Make sure everything is good. Transaction coordinator does do all of these connections, so they're constantly connecting and making sure they're getting the jobs done. But if you want to do it yourself, these are the things that you need to be working on. Okay, so then we're getting ready. We're right here. We're at the pre-closing. So as you can see, whoops, this is seller side, buyer side. We're at the on 5 through I would say 8 is the inspection, financing, title, and insurance. Those are ones that you're working with during the closing phase, during the transaction phase. So those are all running concurrently, like it says there. Now we're going to work on phase 9, the final walkthrough. So everything's been approved. We're getting to the end of the agreement and getting ready to clear close. So you're going to schedule the final walkthrough, usually a day before closing, two day or two before. Verify agreement that the repairs were completed. You want to make sure that's done way ahead of time because you need to get the repairs completed. You need to then get that approved. You need to get pictures in. Then all that needs to be done for the inspector to approve it. They send approval and they send a new inspection report to the insurance company. Now, the insurance company needs to then approve that to bind the insurance. So there's a process there. So make sure that the repairs are completed. That'll be another thing that'll hold you up. Verify property condition is still in the way that they bought it. They didn't take out all the windows and take those with them. You never know. And confirm all the appliances are remaining and confirm there's no damage. They didn't break a window as they were removing all their items. Make sure everything's still in good condition. If they did break a window on the way out, you don't have to wait for it to be repaired. You can leave money in escrow and say, we're leaving $10,000 in escrow so that we can make sure the window gets completed. And then once the window's completed, then the $10,000 will go to the seller. So you can hold money in escrow if there is any issues. And then you are ready for the closing, phase 10. So you're getting ready to close. You confirm the closing disclosures have been received, the HUD, you look over everything, you go through it. You want to check to make sure everything is good. You check your buyers, all the fees in there, make sure the prorations look right. If they don't, that's more the title company will do the prorations, but make sure it looks right. If it doesn't, Ask them, find out. So that is one of your main duties. Make sure the HUD makes sense. So then you confirm the wiring instructions are good, confirm the closing appointment, remind the buyer to bring her ID or their IDs. Make sure that's a big thing. Confirm certified funds or if they're going to wire them. Attend the closing if possible, just in case they have any questions at the end. And you're going to celebrate with a buyer. And I usually bring a bottle of champagne and celebrating because they finally got it closed. It's a big thing in their life, and you want to be there for them. Even if it's an investor, this is a big thing. This is excitement. This is something that's very exciting, and you want to be there for them to celebrate. Okay, so now we're at the closing phase, and we are going to confirm the deed is recorded. Once the deed is recorded, you're going to ask the title company. It's been recorded. Deliver the keys to the buyer. So it can be from title may have them, depending on where the seller put them. Title may have them or still in the lockbox. Send a congratulation gift or bring with you. Request a review, and then again, you're going to put them in high-level CRM or your CRM and do follow-ups. I like to schedule an annual home evaluation just to go there and, hey, how is everything going? Just come and check in, see how everything's going. What I like to do is a month to 2 months after, I like to host their homecoming. So basically, a lot of when they buy it, they do a big I bought a new home party and they invite all their friends over and be like, "Hey, you know what? I will help host that. I'll bring the wine and some snacks and we'll do a big party here. You invite all your friends as a housewarming party and I'll do that for you because now you are out there. That's the best advertising possible. You know, you going out there, you're having a few bottles of wine and everybody's like, "Oh, you're the buyer's agent. She really told me some great things about it. Oh, here's my card." So it's a great thing to get new things for him. So also, like what it says down here, it says in the bottom two, send the homestead exemption information. So making sure you send that to your buyer is really important to make sure that's a really great thing to do because otherwise they're trying to find this out themselves and it might be too late. They have to do that in the first of the year. And then send the homeowner resource guide that we have. So just sending that information so that they're set to go. So these again are the important trackers. So usually right at the beginning, you're going to send out all of these specific deadlines and putting it on your calendar. Just so that you're completely in line to making sure you don't miss any of those deadlines. And this is the image that I was showing you earlier of the timeline. So that is the seller and the buyer checklist. It is on your agent portal. So you can come here anytime and go to the agent Google Drive, and those documents are in there. If you have any questions, um, let me know. I'm here and you can go through it with me. Let's see. Do you guys have any questions at all? With the buyer's agent transaction list or the seller's agent transaction list and how it goes through. And what I can do is I can send an email with these documents and the images attached, but also they are in the folders. So if you want to go to the folders in here, this is the Google Drive. And when you go to the agent folder, you'll see it like this. Yeah, and I know we've gone over some other things in here. We've gone over logos. The logos are in there, the vendors ads, open house flyers, social flyers, so a lot of marketing. But you're going to see the seller forms, and not all of the seller forms are in here. Again, you want to get them off .loop because they're the most updated. But the seller forms are in here in case you need them, and the buyer's forms are in here in case you need them. And then the seller is under the seller transaction a checklist is under the seller forms, and the buyers under the buyers. If you have any questions, just let me know. And thank you guys for jumping on.